Hello people, in this video we want to look at dysmenorrhea. So basically, what do you mean by menorrhea? Menstruation, what is dys? Difficulty, pain, so painful menstruation, right? So you can also call it as menstrual cramps. So that is what is dysmenorrhea. So in this we will be looking at dysmenorrhea. So what is the definition, guys? So here you can look at the definition. Menstruation which is painful is dysmenorrhea, okay? But how much pain? The pain is sufficient enough to incapacitate the person to do day-to-day activities. This is the definition of dysmenorrhea. It is painful menstruation the pain sufficient magnitude to incapacitate the person to do day-to-day activities. This is the complete definition of dysmenorrhea. Okay, guys. Now let's move to the types of dysmenorrhea. So guys, understand that there is primary dysmenorrhea and secondary dysmenorrhea. Two types only, primary and secondary. Primary is also called as spasmodic and secondary is called as congestive. Primary is the one that is coming with the menstruation, okay? Few hours before the onset of menstruation or just with the onset of menstruation, there will be pain, okay? And this is something that will be there for a day, okay? May extend to up to 24 hours it will be there. That's what they are saying. So we'll make everything with this green, okay? Because this is something that is physiological kind of a thing. There is no pathology involved here. Because here the uterine wall is shedding. So there are prostaglandins which are contracting the uterus. That is it, okay? This is normal. This is the pain that comes with menstruation lasts for 24 hours is primary and it is spasmodic and there is nothing to fear with that, okay? So basically what is happening here, what is the cause of the pain? We told you it is the dysrhythmic uterine contractions and uterine hypoxia. So what happens when the uterus contracts because of the effect of prostaglandins to shed the uterine linings, it is going to contract, right? And that will result in uterine hypoxia. This is the cause of the pain, okay? Now what happens is in ovulatory cycles, that is people who have regular periods, right? Who have regular periods, those people will have this type of pain, spasmodic pain. Why? Because they would have ovulated on the 14th day. Then there is corpus luteum. Corpus luteum makes progesterone. Once the progesterone withdrawal happens, then there is menstruation again. So this menstruation is happening after ovulation. That time what is happening? There is progesterone withdrawal and hence there is prostaglandin effect. The prostaglandin will cause the contraction of the uterus. Guys, did it become too much to understand? See, where does this happen? This thing, it happens only in ovulatory cycles. Okay, ovulation should happen. Then there is corpus luteum which is formed. The corpus luteum will release progesterone. After some time, there is progesterone withdrawal which causes the menstruation. Prostaglandins are there which causes the contraction of the uterus. So what will happen? The few hours or just with the onset of menstruation, there is this pain and it will last for about 24 hours. There is dysrhythmic uterine contractions and uterine hypoxia. So that is why you should understand that only ovulatory cycles causes pain. So here's the ovary, guys. You can see here the follicle is maturing and the ovulation is happening. The oocyte is released here. See, can you see here? The secondary oocyte is released here. After that, what is formed? That's the corpus luteum. And then you have the early corpus luteum, the mature corpus luteum, and then you have the corpus albicans, okay? So in this time, the corpus luteum is making progesterone, right? So progesterone is the one that is going to make the secretory phase of the endometrium. And then once progesterone withdrawal happens, the uterine lining will shed. Obviously, guys, here we are talking about a situation where there is no fertilization. Very good. So now, guys, so you know where the ovaries are, right? Here are the ovaries. So the ovulation is happening. The oocyte is coming here. It may or may not meet the sperm. In case it does not, it comes here, the oocyte, and then it is it is shed, right? So along with the endometrium. Basically, this ovary is the one that is having corpus luteum, which is making the progesterone. Because of the progesterone, this uterus will have thick endometrium, that is secretory phase, and then after that, with progesterone withdrawal, will cause the shedding of the endometrium. And at the same time, prostaglandins are there, which are contracting this uterus, and because of the contraction of the uterus, you have the pain. So do you know this is the menstrual cycle, guys. So you can see here the lining of the endometrium here they are showing. The menses is happening, it's shedding. Then after that it is going into a proliferative phase. And then after the ovulation, that's on the 14th day, after the ovulation again the size is increasing. That is the secretory phase. Again it goes because of progesterone withdrawal. It is going into, see, progesterone is withdrawing here. Can you see this? Progesterone level is decreasing. Just look at the progesterone level here. See here, progesterone level. See how the progesterone level is increasing after the ovulation and then it is decreasing after a few days, and because after the withdrawal of progesterone there is bleeding. Okay, so this is the whole thing. Now where is the ovulation? Ovulation here is on the 14th day, they have shown. So basically understand guys, in a person who has never delivered a child, right, this pain will be more because their cervix will be like, all of these will be very tight. What do you say? They'll have to contract more to shed the uterine lining, right? So basically before delivering a child, it is going to be, menstruation is going to be really painful. Okay, so pain is cured following pregnancy. Especially what they mean is following a vaginal delivery. If somebody has had a vaginal delivery, they will not be having that much of spasmodic pain. So in primary itself, we are discussing this possible causes of pain, guys. This is, they are again the same thing what we told you. Progesterone withdrawal will happen. Because of progesterone, there is prostaglandin synthesis and release. These prostaglandins will make the myometrium contract. There will be dysrhythmia, may or may not be dysrhythmia. Some junctional zone they are talking about, and then there is a reduced blood flow, ischemia, right, because of when the contraction. So, okay, because of prostaglandin, there is reduced blood flow, okay, and there is myometrial angina and pain. So basically, they already told you, right, that ischemia also happens. Okay, these are the causes of pain. How will you manage primary dysmenorrhea, guys? So basically, what are the drugs that you will give? See, first of all, you should assure these people, you should give some analgesics and antispasmodic drugs. You should tell them to empty their bowel, is it? And encourage normal activities. But how will they do if they are incapacitated? I think you should give the analgesic and then they'll tell them to encourage normal activities, is it? Okay. If all this fails, then what you will do? If all these fails, analgesics, antispasmodics, etc. fails, then what you will do? Then you will give prostaglandin synthetase inhibitors. PSI, prostaglandin synthetase inhibitors. What is that? These are nothing but NSAIDs, right? Look at this. Phenamate, just remember mefenamic acid. So NSAID basically they're talking about. Mefenamic acid. How much you will go? You should know this. 200 mg to 500 mg 8 hourly they are saying. Please at least remember this. Okay, it's a very common drug that you will use in gynecology. Mefenamic acid 250 mg 8 hourly. Okay. Then propionic acid derivatives, ibuprofen, naproxen, indomethacin also you can give. Ibuprofen, naproxen, indomethacin. So what are the drugs you will give, guys? If the analgesics fail, what is analgesic? Analgesic also is some painkiller they are talking about. But what is NSAID? Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. But anyways, this is very specifically prostaglandin synthetase inhibitor. So mefenamic acid, then flufenamic acid, ibuprofen, naproxen, indomethacin. And on this side they are saying you can try oral contraceptive pills. Okay, if there is contraindication to PSI in that person, then you can give oral contraceptive pills. Now oral contraceptive pills, guys, that is estrogen and progesterone combination pills. These people will not ovulate. And they should be somebody who are not planning a family, etc. Right? And you should understand this. You are not giving it lifelong. You are just giving it for 3 to 6 cycles as written here. Okay, they have written here 3 to 6 cycles only you will give. Okay. And both of these fail. Then only they are going for surgical. They are doing some ultrasound. What are they doing here? Laparoscopy. They want to exclude pelvic pathology, endometriosis. Okay. So basically they want to, at this moment, they want to exclude the pelvic pathology. So pelvic pathology is also related to what? To the secondary dysmenorrhea. We will come to that now. Some things we should talk about here, okay. Once they are doing these diagnosis techniques like USG laparoscopy and they are trying to exclude everything, finally what they will do, they're also talking about some surgical techniques, okay. Like they're talking about you dilate the cervix and then laparoscopy they are saying uterine nerve ablation. Tuck, cut the nerve. Uterine nerve ablation, no pain at all. Luna. Laparoscopic uterine nerve ablation. Are you able to see, guys? Luna. And Luna was the name of a vehicle right before. That very nice cute one. Then presacral neurectomy. LPSN. That is laparoscopic presacral neurectomy. Both of these they're talking about nerve only, guys. So nerve is going to pay the price, okay. So your dysmenorrhea is primary. Who's going to pay the price? Finally, surgery you're doing. You will do LUNA, that is laparoscopic uterine nerve ablation, then laparoscopic presacral neurectomy. Okay, this much you remember. I think this much about primary dysmenorrhea is enough. Okay. Now let's move to secondary. So do you know where we are, guys? We are in dysmenorrhea. We are trying to understand this dysmenorrhea, what it is. We have understood that it is painful menstruation sufficient enough to incapacitate the person's day-to-day activities. Then we have looked at the primary one. Primary, you saw that it's also called a spasmodic. It comes with the cycles and gets relieved within 24 hours. And this is caused because of ovulation. Then there is a progesterone withdrawal which causes the menstruation. And the prostaglandins which are released will contract the uterus, and there can be ischemia to the uterus. And the cervix will be very tight in prior to vaginal delivery. So people who are having vaginal delivery, after a vaginal delivery, they not have that much of spasmodic pain. Okay. Then what else? Guys, they are saying that it can happen in women who have fibroids also. So it is not that fully green, right? So it can happen in a particular pathology also, like fibroids. So not so green, right? We made it red now. Now go to the treatment. In treatment, there are some drugs that you should know, like antispasmodic. You can give dicyclomin, they are saying, and drotavarin. And then GnRH analogs also they're talking about, but this will stop periods, okay? So that's what they are saying. What is LUNA? Laparoscopic uterine nerve ablation, okay? That you should know. Laparoscopic uterine nerve ablation. Guys, say it. LUNA, what are you using? LUNA, uterine nerve ablation. Basically, you're doing it for dysmenorrhea, primary, that is spasmodic, okay? Now, shall we move on, guys? See, basically, in spasmodic pain itself, the person will have in between. See, now because this primary dysmenorrhea is happening in ovulatory cycles, right? Because it is happening in ovulatory cycles, along with the spasmodic pain, they can have an ovulatory pain that is called as Mittelschmerz syndrome, okay? So this is the name of the pain. They will ask you Mittelschmerz syndrome, okay? Ovulatory pain. So who will have this? Only people who have ovulation can have this, isn't it? The textbook is calling this as ovular pain, okay? So basically it is a mid-menstrual pain, you can say it, right? So it is, where is this pain? This pain will be in the hypogastrium or in the iliac fossa. Hypogastrium or in the or in either iliac fossa. In iliac fossa, okay? So guys, they are very specific about this. Is only one side of pain you will have, and basically this can be associated with spotting, right? Because when there is ovulation, there can be some spotting. And why does this happen? They are trying to say that there can be some Graafian follicle it's going to rupture, right? So there can be increased tension because of that, and there can be pain because of that, or there can be some fluid, right, in the peritoneum. Peritoneal irritation can happen because of this follicular fluid. So look at this. So this oocyte is rupturing, right? That time some fluid is going into peritoneum that can irritate the peritoneum, that can lead to pain. Or this Graafian follicle is so mature and it is going to rupture, right? So there can be some tension that can cause the Mittelschmerz pain, okay? So then what else? How will you treat? You will just give some analgesics, that's it, okay? Similar other things are very similar to primary spasmodic dysmenorrhea, how you will manage, same thing. So where will be the pain in spasmodic pain? Lower abdominal pain, okay? I think we missed that point. Lower abdominal pain will be there in the primary spasmodic pain. The Mittelschmerz pain, they are saying in the hypogastrium. Where's your hypogastrium now? Hypogastric region is here, right? Again, lower abdomen also means the same thing. So both the spasmodic pain and the Mittelschmerz pain, both are in same place only, I would say, right? Or in the iliac fossa, either iliac fossa. Now where is iliac fossa, we need to understand. Or in the iliac fossa. The Mittelschmerz thing can happen in the iliac fossa, they said. So Mittelschmerz can be here or in the center, but center can be what? Obviously the uterus is here. So here I will put the spasmodic pain, here I will put the Mittelschmerz pain. What do you say, people? Okay. Along with the spasmodic pain, people can They can have nausea, vomiting, fatigue, headache, diarrhea, tachycardia, etc. I used to have vomiting. Very annoying. Okay. Then coming to Mittelschmerz, they are very particular in saying that there will be no vomiting. Okay. They are not at all, they are telling this. There will be no vomiting in this. Okay. In this ovulatory pain. No vomiting. Okay. They are very particular about this. It's conspicuously absent, the textbook says. So now we have looked at almost everything about this spasmodic primary dysmenorrhea, guys. Now, shall we move to the secondary dysmenorrhea? Not much is there about it. So, let's try to cover it off. What do you say, people? You're not happy? Okay, there's one more type of dysmenorrhea actually, that is the membranous. We need to look at that also now. Membranous dysmenorrhea is also there. Go here. See? There is secondary dysmenorrhea and membranous also is there. So, we'll do one thing. We'll cover these two in the next video, guys. Bye-bye.